Hello, and welcome to the Theological Family Ministry Podcast, a podcast for parents as well as children and youth ministry leaders. We are dedicated to showing how theological study and biblical application relate to the discipleship of children and youth. As always, we're hosted by Pastor Ben Tony, the pastor of family and children's discipleship at Curtis Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia, and Tony Trussoni, the family and student pastor at Faith Family Church in Finksburg, Maryland.
All right, Tony, it is good to be back virtually with you. It's always virtual. We did get to see each other, I don't know, about a year ago. I wish we could have recorded, and that would have been fun, but back at it. So how have you been?
I've been doing all right, all things considered. You know, it is funny. I've had tons of virtual meetings, like 87,000 of them, I feel like. Actually, I calculated it the other day, and it's been at least 12 a week, virtual meetings. And so, you know, this it doesn't feel that different because we've done this podcast virtually for so many years now.
Yeah, I guess that does make a difference. When it feels a little more normal because before you were about the only person I did video chatting with. So, and I don't have an iPhone, which a lot of people do FaceTime. Yeah, it is what it is. So how I know the restrictions in my state have been lifted in a lot of ways. Now everything hasn't gone back to normal. But in Maryland, there, you guys still quarantined and locked down in the house?
Yeah, Maryland is an odd case state. So Maryland has not canceled school for the rest of the year. We're recording this on April 30th, and as of now, could change by this afternoon. We have school canceled through mid-May, but it's widely believed it will be canceled for the year. And we are on quarantine with an indefinite stay-at-home order. So there's never been. I think only three other states have not had a date attached. So we've never had a date attached at all. So.
Okay, so all the kids in Maryland today are fasting and praying, some saying Hail Marys and things about the ending stoppage of school.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well,
so yeah, you're in a little different situation. So like at my church, we've had conversations about when to reopen, how to reopen, these kinds of things. We're certainly not like right on the cusp of doing it, but I mean, I've heard of a church just down the road here that's planning on May the 17th reopening. And so they're folks that are going to be getting back together. They're going to be facing less isolation and that kind of thing. But that's what we want to talk about today, about this whole shelter in place and the isolation that it's brought, and technology, which we're using to have this conversation, and which we always do, and our relationships, and just what it's doing now, but also going forward. So maybe a little different than we normally do, but how has the quarantine been for you and your family?
I would say better than most, and it's easy to say that, I think often the token reformed answer to how are you doing today is better than I deserve. But realistically, I know a lot of people that have a really hard time with this. But, my job has not, as much as a lot of ministry is in person, I've been able to digitize a lot of things. And, even having a cloud drive has been really helpful to be able to access my files from my computer at home, which I have 3 screens at home, which is really nice for working from home. But, the kids are really ready to see their friends. But, I think that they've been handling things all right, all things considered. The one thing that has been impacting me more that's kind of coming to grips with now is we always take a vacation at the end of May. We usually fly out to see my parents, and Illinois stay-at-home order is through the end of May at least, and that has kind of put the kibosh on that. And, it's been a while since we've had a vacation, and it's going to be weird probably having a vacation where just sitting at home twiddling our thumbs, maybe reading a presidential biography.
You get your kids to go to bed early. By that, you just read it to them, and they'll go to sleep.
Yeah, I'm listening to one about Martin Van Buren, and I think that would do the trick.
Nice. Yeah, we had some bedtime troubles recently with the youngest child, and so I was reading this book about Thomas Cromwell, who was like Henry VIII's right-hand man. It was interesting, but it may have done the trick for him. Maybe I should have pulled that out. Yeah, for us, it's been, I guess, up and down. The whole isolation part of it has been difficult. I think a week or two ago, we were going to Chick-fil-A to go through the drive-thru, pick up something, and my kids were all like, "Can we go?" And it was just like, "We're going in a car ride. This is awesome." And so, just excitement about these kind of mundane things.
By the way, Chick-fil-A sponsorship would be appreciated.
Yeah. Anybody in the Kathy family who might be listening. So, and some free chicken, we're happy to promote you. So Tony, do you have more introverts or extroverts in your family? And how has that affected the lockdown, you think, for you?
That's, I think that's a great question, actually, even related to, like, in our ministry, we've had to kind of navigate. Some people are in different states with that. So I would say, I think most people think I'm an extrovert. I think I would say more often than not that I kind of play the extrovert, like I play one on TV. And when I get a little comfortable with people, I can be pretty extroverted. But if I'm honest, it's not hard for me to be by myself for an extended period of time and just chill with my family. I like my family, And if anything, I'm Zoom exhausted, So this more introverted nature than I let on is just Zoom is great for purposes, but like I've said before, I'm on like 12 to 15 Zoom calls a week, and that is actually probably out extroverting me. And our kids are more extroverted than us, my wife and I, and especially my son. I think my son is extremely extroverted, really enjoys his friends at school and everything. And so I think they're very much ready for their friends, seeing them and getting back to school whenever that's possible, even if it's like 35 years from now. How are you?
Yeah, my wife and I joked about when kids go back to school, like, the class picture, everybody's got a mask on, you don't know who's who.
Now, you guys always come across as like giddy extroverts like that, just out in the town all the time, right?
Yeah, definitely. My wife and I are both more introverted, and it doesn't mean that we don't like people. It just means that we kind of recharge by having some time alone. And so that's the thing for us, like, there's not really that time. It's just, we're all together. And so we have a pretty small neighborhood. There's one way in and one way out and a bunch of cul-de-sacs. And so I don't know how many miles I've walked in the neighborhood. And sometimes it was pushing a small child in a stroller who just needed to kind of chill out, and then also let me chill out too. And I've offered that to my wife too, like, hey, after dinner, you need to walk some time by yourself. And she's used that to call her family, that her family lives pretty far away. And so, at least one of our children is more introverted. One, I don't know, I think there's some extroverted tendencies there, but I think that has just made it unique, because for extroverted people, they want, that time. And so the thing is, their pool of people is much smaller. And then, for those of us who are introverted, they can just I just need a few minutes of quiet, especially if you got small kids. Quiet is sort of a thing that doesn't happen until all eyes are closed and that their heart rates have dropped for the night. So that has been just one of the interesting parts of it, maybe challenging at times. So have you guys done things to make it feel more normal, or did you just this is weird and we're just going to go with it?
We kind of have just decided, like, we're going to treat this like the apocalypse. So, we're like eating like rats that we've caught over like a open fire and stuff like that. No.
Get the kids to work.
Yeah, I need to dilapidate house. No, we're not doing that. So, I'd say mostly we have embraced the abnormality of it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to kind of hide or make it feel more normal in most cases. We're trying to set some routine and keep relatively normal hours, but I don't know that that's us being intentional in that. I think that's just how we are. We're both control freaks at times, and so. But I think it has been helpful that we still have our regular times of family worship. That one thing we've added that kind of has been an exciting quarantine time is there actually another plug. The Cincinnati Zoo in Ohio has been putting these YouTube videos up of I think it's like YouTube Safari where they basically do a guided tour of different animal stuff in it. And so we've been doing a lot of that. How about you guys?
I think I've heard of a lot of different services that were doing that, and I think I did hear specifically about the Cincinnati Zoo. Got to be careful though; they might start shooting the gorillas. So, well,
fortunately, I don't think anybody could virtually go into the gorillas.
Yeah. So we've, in a lot of ways, our routine has kind of stayed the same. Again, just having young kids just. It helps, though I'm working from home, but I've tried to keep my working hours about the same and just do kind of the things that we would normally do. And we actually worked not to just always be going and doing something and have to, have 15 extracurricular activities. But though now that's not even an option. So for us, a ton didn't change, but there certainly were changes. And then there are parts about that where it's abnormal and just you had to go with it. So do you think this time of isolation that we're all having to face, or most people are having to face, at least in some measure, is sort of a taste of where our love for technology could lead us?
I think that's an interesting question that you brought up. And I had not even thought about that before you kind of sent that to me. So I definitely think it can. It can give you a lot of ways to taste. And actually, it's been interesting because I work with a lot of teens. And for some teens, as an example, haven't really been shaken that much by this because they're so used to this extreme digitized relationships that, this is just, it's the same deal, I mean, I'm still playing I'm still mainly relating to somebody by Xbox Live, or I'm still primarily doing social media as my way of communicating. So I think in some ways it does show that kind of expression of it. So I think some churches are seemingly leaning into it in some ways, and I think less than the most helpful way. And I think that there's been an ease of leaning into this because of how comfortable we have become and where we're heading as a society with technology. I think the fact that I even myself have hardly missed a beat is not a great sign for myself in that question. So, but I think some people are realizing digital community doesn't substitute, and seeing, where society is going in that digital sense of community and how that can't be the same, possibly be the same as the kind of physical community that we're missing out on now.
That's a good. Yeah, I was interested in how you might view that. And again, I don't know that it's this slippery slope necessarily, but I think it does give us a little bit of a taste of where we could go. And that's, you work more with teenagers. I interact some with teenagers, but and I'm not a Luddite, but I also don't just jump full in on technology and all the digital and social media and things like that. I mean, I use those platforms, but I try to really restrict my usage. And I'm just not that interested in doing it. And I'd rather have try to just live my life rather than take pictures of everything and video it and then tell everybody else, that I did it. And so in some ways I haven't missed a beat. In other ways I have. But I was listening to The Briefing, Al Mohler's news review show the other day, and he was citing some stuff that Verizon's reported that their phone traffic is way up. They're experiencing call volumes every day that's double what Mother's Day is.
Wow.
And you think people are calling mom like crazy on Mother's Day. Well, every day people are calling. Also telemarketers and call center people whose job it is to make phone calls. They can't get off the phone. They're having trouble doing their job because people are just wanting to stay on the phone and talk about whatever, talk about their problems, And so it's just interesting how it is affecting. Some people, they're at home with little kids or with teenagers and they're going crazy and they're just ready to get out. You got other people that live alone or they're elderly and they are just kind of locked in and they're ready to get out. I was talking to a guy at our church this week who was saying that, he's been going to work the whole time and like half their workforce at his plant has been